Now, did you learn lessons that you could share with the viewers, like signs you know when you might want to get divorced? Like, here's some warning signs. You know, if it reaches past this point, stop trying to fix it, kind of things.
That's a really good question.
Because for the longest time, you kept trying to fix it, right?
Yeah.
And then finally you just said, this ain't fixable.
Well, there's really two things. And there's the practicality. And far be it from me to tell a person to get divorced when they have young children and they don't have a job and they're dependent on somebody for their income and the house.
Yeah.
Because practicalities blow everything to hell.
Yeah.
And I don't know about anyone's personal situation. But if a person were to feel like they were heading toward a divorce, male, female, anybody, I would say the smart thing to do is what I call feather your nest. And that's to, in a sense, surreptitiously, in any way that you can, prepare for the future. So, and I think I did that unconsciously, sort of subconsciously. But the other thing is, if a person is in the situation to be able to divorce, and the time to do it, the best time to do it, is when you realize that either you are not loving the person the way that they deserve to be loved, or you yourself are not being loved the way you deserve to be loved. That's the best and first time to not be in a relationship. And then the second best time is that same feeling, but when you have all your ducks in a row. And for me, maybe I knew that I was not being loved the way that I needed to be loved, but it took me a very long time to get my ducks in a row. So.
Yeah, to set up, let's say, the economic conditions which would give you the freedom to walk away if you so decided.
That and the feeling it is, you know, everyone says it, but waiting until the kids got old enough or left the house.
Yeah.
That was important to me.
Yeah.
I also built a network of friends. When I got divorced...
Sometimes friends choose sides.
Not in my case, because all my friends were my friends.
Right, because you had prepared for that.
Yeah. I didn't lose any in the divorce. Right. They were all my friends.
Now, do you think when people have a relationship breakup and it is the moral thing to do to say to friends, look, you're either their friend or my friend, make them choose a side?
Do you think, who should do that?
I've been in an uncomfortable situation where two people broke up and I tried to stay friends with both, and then one of them would say, how could you really be my friend if you're their friend? And I said, I think I can. I think I could be both people's friends.
I understand that impulse. That when you are recently a divorced person, that you would require faithfulness from your friends. So I understand there's a lot of hot emotions after divorces. So I don't blame anybody who's divorced for being unreasonable. I expect that. As to whether a person can be fair to both sets of friends, I do have, as I said, in my own divorce, it never was an issue because my friends were all my friends and not his friends. So it never was an issue. However, I have a couple who are divorced that I have maintained friendships with both. But after the divorce, I was not friends with one of them for many years. It took many years before we came back around and were able to be friends. And as it stands now, I don't talk to either of them about the other one. So that's the only way it can work for me. Like, I'm not a reporter for either side.
Even if they ask you questions, you'll just say, well, I don't really know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a wise way to do it.
Right.
Do you find that you're constantly making new friends?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I feel that same way. Like I'm constantly making new friends.
And you know what's the interesting thing, and I don't know if you find this, you probably don't think of friendship in the same way that I do, but I have it's not a ranking system, but there are like first ring friends and second ring friends and third ring friends. Not that I try to make people be that way, it just sort of falls into those categories. And I reflect on it and say, well, those are like first ring friends. And there's, and I never know when I meet a person where they're going to land in my life. Like sometimes it's like a shipboard romance, like really close at first and fun and friendly and like, wow, this person's wonderful, and we'll go out together and have a great time and go to dinner and explosion of
There'll be a bond.
total bond.
Yeah.
And I'll never see him again.
Is it because you don't contact them or they don't contact you?
Either.
Because I run into that predicament. Like I think, it's so-and-so's birthday today.
Right?
Should I send them a card? And then I think, well, they have never sent me a card in all the years. And I start building up a case why I shouldn't send them a card.
Right.
And then another part of my mind says, well, maybe they are, there's reasons why they haven't, because they have so many things going on in their lives and they're really feeling alone and lost and so and so. So let me tell you about the idea I came up with. And I started this in 2016. I send them a birthday card that says, that goes like this. Oh, I just want to wish you a happy birthday. I always send it in the morning.
Okay.
I just want to wish you a happy birthday today, but there is something I'd like for you to do for me. I'd like you to try to remember everything that happens to you on this day. And then tomorrow, send me a little narrative on what took place on your birthday. And I said, I'll tell you why. Because for me, the ordinariness of life is better than the fantasy side of life that we see on TV, you know. I like the ordinariness of things. So maybe if you could just relay the ordinariness of what happened to you, it would be wonderful. I would appreciate that so much more than, say, going to a movie. Some people really pick up on that. They write me a very nice narrative of all the things that happened to them. And that, to me, is indeed valuable. It is like better than saying, well, they didn't send me a card, maybe I won't send them a card, because now they've opened up a dialogue.
Interesting.
And then what I'll do is the next time I want to write to them, I'll look at that narrative they sent me, and I'll put that at the top of the letter, and then I'll comment on it, and then I'll talk about what's in my life. So maybe now I can get a back and forth going on.
Interesting.
Because when it comes to conversations, did you ever notice some people, when they talk, they've learned to have conversations without in the least being interested in what you have to say?
Oh, totally.
And so basically it's like a monologue. They are talking, and now you can talk, but the instant you say something that reminds them of something, boom, it's another monologue.
Yes.
Whereas you haven't fallen into that trap. You are genuinely interested in what other people have to say. So you've escaped that. Probably because of your life experiences. You've been with people who were interested in what you had to say, and you've learned from that. And then you say, I want to be like that, so I'm going to be interested in what other people have to say.
No, that's not how it happened.
How did it happen?
Didn't I tell you?
No.
I thought I did.
Tell me.
I was 16, and my brother was going to Dartmouth College or grad school or whatever.
Yeah.
And my brother and I were best friends.
Yeah.
Maybe I was 17, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I was very full of myself. And he brought me to a grad school party at Dartmouth. And so I'm sure I felt intimidated. Because, I was maybe 17, 8 years old. And here's all these smart, brilliant people.
Yeah.
And this was a beer party or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so in order to make myself feel better, dominated the conversation. And my brother, who, sweetheart of a guy, when we got back to wherever we were staying, said, when you're with other people, you might want to not talk so much about yourself, but maybe let them talk about themselves. And I was mortified. And it was like a picture, it was like a cinema, a film that played in my head about, that's all he had to say.
And then you started remembering all those discussions you had at the party. Yeah.
I was horrified.
Yeah.
It was like a nightmare.
Right.
And I realized how selfish I had been and just how obnoxious. Just how I can feel, my toes curl up just telling you about it.
Huh. But in a sense, there was an example where failure is a great teacher.
Yeah.
And then you saw that conversation was this wider thing where you learned and you gave of yourself and you took from others.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like to learn about other people because I already know about myself. That being said, it is delicious to be asked interesting questions about oneself, isn't it?
Oh, yes. Yeah. You've asked a few of them in this discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of fun because we all like to be asked about ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
There are parties. I joke with my husband about it because he's an actor, and actors, for whatever reason, they kind of fit the stereotype of being somewhat self-centered. Not all, but many.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go to an actors party, they have a tendency, not all, but they have a tendency to want to all talk about themselves and draw attention. There's a certain neediness there. And I can go to an actors party, and talk to 20 different people, and they will not know one thing about me by the end of the evening. And I will have collected a dossier on each and every one of them. And that's tiresome.
Mm-hmm.
That becomes tiresome. Just because the volley of a friendship, or I should say of a discussion, a conversation, there's a volley. There's a rhythm.
Yeah. Have you ever talked to somebody and you got the feeling that they were deceiving themselves? I'll give you an example. A friend of mine talked about his father divorcing his mother. And then every time he would go visit his father would talk with him for a little while, and then he would say, but I got things to do, so I can't really talk to you anymore, So pardon me while I go on about my business, that kind of thing, right? Well, he called up his father and said, Dad, I'm getting married, and it's going to be in 8 months, and the reception will be at such and such a place, and I really would like you to come. And the father said, let me check my calendar. Can you believe that? And then his father said, I don't know how to tell you this, but I'm going to be busy. We're building a new home during that period. We're already scheduled to build it, and I'll probably be too busy to come. I'll probably be too busy to come to your wedding, right? So my friend is telling me this, and he goes, I don't care. I don't care if he's too busy. I could care less. He says, when he dies, he said, someday he's going to die, and I'm going to go to his grave, and I'm just going to dance on his grave. I'm going to be so happy. He was deceiving himself. He was hurt that his father, see, but he's trying to smooth it over with I don't care. I don't care if he said that. I could care less,
Right.
And I'm wondering if you've ever picked up on that with people where they're saying one thing. My friend who just moved to Hawaii, all right? Ideal climate, right? But he can't find a job. And his wife is having to work 2 jobs. And they live in a situation of poverty where they get their drinking water from a gigantic like a swimming pool thing. When it rains, they uncover it, and then they cover it back up, and then that gives them the water. Anyway, he posts at least maybe 6 to 10 things on Facebook. Oh, Hawaii is so wonderful, and you people in Western New York, boy, you're having a terrible time, and I just want to let you know I'm loving it here. And then, a couple days later, I just want to let you know how great it is over here. But if somebody says something is great too many times, you start thinking, are they trying to convince themselves?
Yeah. That's what it sounds like. Yeah.
You ever come across anything like that?
Oh, goodness. Yeah. Yeah. A lot.
Mm-hmm.
And, I have 2 children.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I think when you raise children, I think part of the compact is that they have to lie to you or lie to themselves, or, you pick up on that all the time.
Mm.
So as a mother, I think that you have to sometimes listen to that and realize that it's just part of their process, something that they're going through, that they have to somehow get to the other side and realize that for themselves.
Mm.
That when somebody's lying to themselves, I'm not sure that calling them on it is the best thing.
That's what I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you that same thing. When you meet somebody who's involved in self-deception, are you doing them a favor by pointing that out?
There was a woman on Facebook, and she said, I am so fat. I keep eating all this crap, and I can't stop myself from eating cookies, and I've gained 25 pounds in the last few months. And she went on about it. And I thought, wow, that's really naked on Facebook to say that I'm really fat. And I had just taken off some weight because I had gone vegan, and I was amazed without even trying, that I had lost so much weight and that I was healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So I private messaged her, and I said that through this new lifestyle, I had taken off this, I kind of shared my experience with her. And she got back to me and she said, no, my something like, my diet's fine and I exercise. And what she did basically was did a 180 because she wasn't really prepared to make any real changes in her life.
Mm.
And so she kind of backtracked. What she really was doing was going for attention on Facebook, but she wasn't really planning on making any. So she was, in a sense, deceiving herself. So she was putting it out there that what she really wanted to do was lose weight, but the reality was she was not.
That was code for I'd like everybody to pay attention to me.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, but the reality was she wasn't willing to make the changes needed. She wanted to say she wanted to lose weight, but the reality was she did not want to make any changes in her life. So she was deceiving herself. So maybe she got the credit for having that thought,
Mm-hmm.
but didn't really have the willpower or the desire to actually lose the weight.
Mm.
And when I got her response back, I looked at it and I realized she really has no will to do that.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't want to do that. So I just didn't respond
Mm-hmm.
because I thought that's going to flog a dead horse. I can tell the difference when somebody has a real desire to make a change in their life or when somebody's just giving it lip service.
Mm-hmm.
Can't you?
There's a thing called the highest good.
Mm-hmm.
And most of us don't know what our highest good is just by thinking about it. You discover your highest good by what you do. I'll give you an example. My friend he's up there around 300. And he, in fact, his goal is to get down to 290. He's like at 315.
Right.
And so he tells me things like, you're going to be proud of me. I only had 1 egg for breakfast today. He gives me all these positive things. So he was doing a radio show upstairs, and somebody was doing a radio show downstairs. And the show downstairs ended first. And they had snacks down here. And I said, wow, you're the last person to leave. I said, what about these snacks? And he goes, oh, keep them. He says, these people, they just left them here, so they're yours now. I said, okay, I'll let the people upstairs have them. Who comes downstairs but my friend who, he's making all this progress, And I said, oh, would you give this to all the people upstairs doing the radio show, or these snacks? Because I said, they're just going to go to waste. I'm not going to have them. And he starts reaching in the bag. And I said, whoa. I said, listen, I know I don't want to tempt you because I know you're doing everything in your power to lose weight. And yet you're reaching in the bag. And he says, you don't understand. I've never tasted one of these things before. And it's an opportunity for me now to have a new taste experience, which I don't want to pass up. So what he told me is, say it's a high good to lose weight. Well, there's a higher good, the new taste experience. So now there's a ranking going on here. As long as a new taste experience comes into town, the thing about losing weight.
That goes out the door.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So it made me think about what is my own highest good? Like, what is the good that when you reach it, you say, there's really nothing above it. This is the thing I'm going to do. And no matter what you tempt me with, I'm not going to go higher.
Oh, that's
And it's
really
very
interesting.
hard to find out your highest good. You have to look at your experiences and you have to say, what did I do when I was faced with a choice between X and Y? Which one did I choose? It's like the kind of thing you discover about yourself. It's the ideas you live, not what you profess. So this woman on Facebook, she professed these ideas, making it seem like it was the highest good, but then you tested her and you found out she had an even higher good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You're probably thinking of your own highest good.
Yeah. Wow.
It's hard.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to think it was, a conduit for love and authenticity and being of service to others. And yet sometimes I think it's comfort.
Mm-hmm.
Feathering my own bed and just having an easy life.
Mm-hmm.
I know that those things are at war with each other.
Yeah. Well, there's this theory, and someone brought it up to me recently. I like doing altruistic things. In fact, yesterday morning, somebody woke me up and got me out of bed and said, oh, the movers are at my house, and they said they can't move my clothes dryer. And I said, why? And they said, because it's still hooked up into the wall.
Right.
And movers say, we just move. I'm not going to take any responsibility for unhooking anything. Would you come over and hook it up? So I did. I went over there, I got my tools, and I unhooked it, and I shut off the gas. And then she thanked me, and I said, well, you gave me an opportunity to do altruism, see? And I took advantage of it. And I think altruism is a revolutionary act.
Yeah.
So I then, in a discussion with my friend said, how do I know that your real goal wasn't to make yourself feel good by doing that act of altruism? Like, you're really doing it for
that may be your highest good is to feel good.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
So that's
an Escher print.
Exact. Thank you. That's a good way of looking at it. It's an Escher print. Good way with words. Yeah, and I said, well, you can kind of say that about anything, like you're giving to the poor, not so much because you want to give to them, because it makes you feel good when you do it. It's the good feeling that you're after. But I said, why don't we just take it for face value,
Mm-hmm.
If you're helping people, you're helping them. Let's not go into the motive underneath the motive.
I think, too, that, okay, so maybe it makes you feel good.
In fact, it'll even be more meaningful to you when I tell you how the discussion came about.
Uh-huh.
It had to do with the difference between sex and love.
Uh-huh.
And the other person in discussion with me said, oh, look, I was reading this quote, and it's really got me thinking. And it has to do that during sex, each person is really trying to achieve their own pleasure. See? Like, that is their highest good, their own pleasure. In a way, the difference between sex and love is in sex, you're kind of in it for yourself. And in love, you're in it for the other person. It's an interesting distinction, isn't it?
Yes.
Does it have any validity?
As compared to altruism and...
It's almost the same thing. Like, are you doing it for the other, or are you doing it for yourself? Except in this case, they split it. And they said in sex, you're doing it for yourself.
Right.
And in love, you're doing it for the other.
Oh, wow. Okay. So somebody woke you up.
Yeah. Yeah, I was still sleeping, and they came in, and they said, we're stuck. The movers are here. Come on down, can you? And can you disconnect the appliances? And I just, without even thinking, I just
And
got
they
out of
threw
bed.
you into the sexual act.
Oh, no. Wow, that's interesting. You're combining the two. I love it.
So then you
The whole
received the
sexual
pleasure
act
from it.
thing. The whole sexual act thing came about in a email. That was a discussion on what I thought of this distinction between love and sex.
Right, but what I'm saying is
Yeah.
that love is for somebody else,
Yeah.
sex is for one's own self
Yeah.
to drive pleasure.
Right.
What you're saying is that one could make the argument that altruism could be for others, or it could be just an act to make you feel better about
Right.
yourself.
And you have to choose, which you think it is. Because I think altruism is for others. Personally, I
Right.
think that, yeah.
Although, I guess it may depend on the spirit with which you do it. It could be if you blow your own horn. My husband is a big believer in anonymous acts of kindness and not even telling me about them because he doesn't want it to be ego-driven. So that I think that is part of the distinction. My highest good being that I am a conduit of love or of kindness to people, love or warmth to others, understanding, empathy. The way that I know that I'm in that space is when I do not have an agenda. The way that I know that I'm not in that space is when I'm trying to tell somebody what to do, or I'm trying to prescribe something for somebody. So I think there's what somebody knocked on your door. You didn't go around trying to be Mr. Altruism.
Correct.
You
Correct.
responded to the call.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's a very good point that you're raising there. Yeah, in other words, I'm sure that there are people looking for altruistic acts to do, go around looking for them. And I'm one of those people who feels like, no, they're going to knock on my door, literally in this case, but they're going to come my way, and I'll see the opportunity when it presents itself.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, those people who knock on the door and look for opportunities to be altruistic, good.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
I mean, we need more of that too.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that. If their motivation is to receive recognition for it, I also don't have a problem with that.
Yeah. Can you say your final goodbye to the viewers? Maybe give them a goodbye quote?
Wow. Oh, gee. Let's see if I have anything. Nope.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, I'd like to thank everybody for watching this series. It's going to be a 3-part series, each a half hour long, because that's what YouTube says to me.
Oh.
Keep it at a half hour. So then I just break it up. And let me see if I can find a goodbye quote here.
Well, let me go back to the one, because we may have gone by it too quickly, and this was the one that my husband actually came up with.
Okay.
Is that we get pulled kicking and screaming into a better life.
Wow. I got a companion quote for that.
Okay.
Sometimes it is admirable to charge hell with a bucket of water.
Admirable, not particularly effective.
Okay, good. All right. Well, let's conclude and say goodbye to the people.
Okay.
Okay. I'll say first. Goodbye, people. And you?
Goodbye, people.
Okay.